Hey everybody, my name is Chris, and this is my audio obsession. Back with another video, and today's episode, I guess you'd call it, I'm going to stick with Canadian metal. Thrash metal, heavy metal, some mythical metal. And today's episode will be brought to you by the music of 3 Inches of Blood. Now, these guys are from Western Canada, and this is my favorite album from these guys. Absolutely fantastic tunes. Kind of got the Galloping Maiden type stuff. Really intricate guitar stuff. Vocally, the way I used to describe it was, I guess you'd say like AC/DC on meth. You hear that? So, anyways, fantastic band. If you have not ever heard these guys, they got a handful of albums. They disbanded and kind of went to a bunch of different bands. But check these guys out. Man, that's got some high vocals to her. Anyways, so I'm going to start off with an oldie. Now, this isn't actually metal per se. It's probably more classified as rock. But this character actually kind of evolved and moved on to basically heavy metal was the style. This was back in 1977. Now, this guy, Canadian of course, became pretty popular. I actually, I think about a year ago or so, I came across accidentally on YouTube, and it was kind of like a biography or history on Thor. Now, like I said, this one's not quite metal, but I mean, check out them guns, man, that's metal, right? So, of course, the biggest classic, which I recall seeing the video on Much Music, and man, oh man, it left a little bit to be desired. But it was Keep the Dogs Away, which is the title of this album. There's some good tunes on here, really good tunes, and like I said, he progressed into metal. As soon as he got into the 80s, it became more heavy metal. Some songs on this album are kind of teetering into the area of, like, I don't want to say disco, but disco. But that's only a couple. He was a famous guy for being on stage bending thick pipes around his head. And I think he kind of got older and started losing his muscle mass. I'm sure he moved on from steel pipes to aluminum pipes. And then later on, he eventually just kind of lost everything and had that, the typical dad bod. And I'm sure by that point he had just moved to bending pool noodles over his head. But anyways, he was a cool character, and if you happen to see the biography on him on YouTube, I think if it's still floating around, really cool watch. It's interesting and kind of sad in some spots to hear about his kind of rise and fall. Anyways, next, I've already shown this particular album, but I just happen to have the collection of them from the rest of their albums, so I'm going to start off by showing it anyways. I showed this in my first video. This would be 1985. Sacrifice, Torment and Fire. This was, like I had mentioned before, like kind of Canada's Slayer. From there, they moved on to Forward to Termination. Now this is a repress, and it came out on War on Music Records. So Sacrifice ended up putting this out, doing a bunch of represses because there was huge demand for these albums. The artwork is just incredible on this. This one came out in '87. Let's see here. So I've got a monster-sized poster of the cover. I'm not going to bother pulling that out. It's a pain in the rear end to get back in there. Of course, you get, you know, your typical thrash collage, which pretty much in the 80s and 90s, almost every single album that was like a thrash band, that's kind of what you got. But pretty cool anyways. And let's see here. This one was on a really nice splatter. Let's see if you can see that. It's kind of like a black and green splatter. Really cool. I got like a whole handful of these records to show, and actually a couple CDs. So I'm gonna kind of move on a little bit quickly through them. Now, I could have just picked one Sacrifice album, but I didn't. I picked them all. This would be Soldiers of Misfortune, which came out in 1990. So now, Forward Determination was a leap above Torment and Fire, where they started having more melody involved. Once they got to this album, you could definitely see the direction that they were now headed. Instead of being the typical speed metal thrash, like I mentioned in that first video, they kind of veered off away from the Slayer's Hell Awaits territory. And like I said, I thought, me personally, they had way more musical talent kind of stuffed in than, you know, Slayer had, you know, their recipe, and they stuck with it for the most part. This one, of course, once again, you got your collage. This is another repress that was just recently done a couple years ago, and this is War on Music again. I got another fold-out poster of the cover. And let's see, this one was a cool black and blue splatter. Really nice addition. For the life of me, I cannot remember what they were limited to, and really it didn't matter. I just wanted to have them anyways, so I couldn't have really cared less. Now, once they got to this album, this is their Apocalypse Inside. Kind of hard to see because it's in the plastic. Now, if anybody has picture discs in these plastic wraps here, you know how much of a hooer it is to get in and out, so I'm not going to pull it out. But anyways, that is the cover of the album. Now, by the time they hit this record, they were starting to progress huge, like, I wouldn't say prog, but yeah, I guess progressive metal. Yeah, I suppose you could say that. They really had a lot more hooks in this. They kind of brought the pace down a little, mid-pace. They weren't, you know, all-out thrash anymore. They still had their thrash elements, but there was definitely the hooks. Not only that, but just the caliber of the songwriting too was like elevated huge. And this was kind of how they progressed with each album. Now, once they got to 2009's The Ones I Condemn, right here, you see that's pretty cool artwork. Now this one is heavy. I'd have to say it's probably the heaviest album that they've done. With this record, I found personally they kind of, where Apocalypse Inside kind of, you know, had that progressive stuff, they kind of reverted back to, let's do another all-out thrash album. And definitely the sound was thick and heavy on this album. You can see on the other side, it's got kind of the collage. But anyways, move on here. I don't want to take up too much time. So now, another Canadian band from Western Canada. Once again, a lot of great stuff comes out from Western Canada. Not that Ontario doesn't have it, but now this right here is, I first originally got it on CD when it came out, and it was by far, at the time, it was my favorite Canadian album. I've been waiting forever since this thing basically came out. I've been waiting forever to get this on vinyl because I love the artwork. I love having it on a bigger surface. This would be, see if you can see that, Disciples of Power, Ominous Prophecy. Now this band is freaking awesome. All out thrash band. Fantastic writing on this. They had an album previous to this one. Power Trap was their first album that they put out. And to get an original copy of that, oh man, they're going for ridiculous money. And of course, they all seem to be over in Europe. Now, this one, of course, is a repress, which Power Trap got repressed too. I just didn't get my hands onto it yet. Blood Harvest put this one out. So it's kind of weird because Disciples of Power got a handful of albums. This one, by far, is my favorite. The head guy of the band, the lead singer, Hart Bachmeier, now, he did a majority of everything. Like, this was his baby. And he kind of had this, whether he was going through rough times, not sure exactly how he got there, but he kind of had a change in his life where he became a born again. Unfortunately, at that point in time, he kind of felt that stuff like this that he was a part of was kind of blasphemy and didn't want anything to do with it, and felt that this was what was wrong with society and could have negative effects. So when I say he became born again, he went hardcore born again. Now, I don't know what had happened with him to make a change where he actually, maybe he needed money, to have a change of heart to put this stuff back out, because a few years back, the rest of the band got back together and started doing reunion shows. Of course, Hart was not part of it. He wanted nothing to do with it. They asked him, and he said, no, absolutely not. That is not part of my life anymore. And it was kind of cool to see the band coming back together. Now, of course, the vocals were a lot more deep and guttural. It wasn't the same. They were really cool, really heavy. It wasn't the same as this. This band here was really, it was thrash. First and foremost thrash, where they kind of started to develop this death metal when the band kind of got back together again. But anyway, so I'm really grateful to have this. And I'm not exactly sure. I doubt the band is ever going to come back out with anything new, as far as I know. But anyways, check this one out. I used to call this the Musical Chairs thrash album, because for some reason they had this, it was kind of their sound, the start-stop thrash. So you play na-na-na-na-na, stop, na-na-na-na-na, stop. I don't know, it was like the only band that had this start-stop thing, so I always called it the Musical Chairs, and it was funny, but regardless, it was freaking cool. The band is freaking awesome. So from there, we are going to come on over the east side of Canada into Ontario with this album right here. This band, they were a no bullshit thrash band, just full on aggressive thrash. This would be Rammer, album titled Cancer. This one came out in 2006. Now, like I said, these guys, just all out, just thrash. But really, really cool. Got your lyrics there. If you're into the bombastic thrash, the vocals, they're on the harsh side, which hey, I'm cool with it. I like it. It's just a typical black vinyl, so I'm not going to bother pulling it out. Now, this other one that I've got from Rammer as well is actually a really cool edition. So this one, I guess you would call just an EP. Came out in 2009. But what's cool about this one is it's only on one side, but then it's got a, I don't know if you can see that, a silk screened side on the non-playable side, of course. And of course you got your playable side there. Just kind of it was limited edition. I'm not sure how many copies, and really I don't care. I'm just glad to have it in my collection. And what do we got here? It's kind of like a, yeah, just track listing, picture of the band. So yeah, if you're into some heavy, fast thrash, you'll definitely like this. Get that back in there. Pain in the butt. Anyways, I'll get back to that later. So, from thrash, we're going to move over back to the western side of Canada again to some black metal. Now, this style of black metal band, first off, I'll tell you, is kind of hard to read there, but the band is called Wilt. And this is their first album, their debut, that came out in 2012, it was. So these guys, their version of black metal is, they've got some fast, you know, some blast beat stuff, but a majority of it is a mid, slow-paced, kind of melodic black metal. Really, really freaking cool. Not sure. Oh yeah. Okay, so this one. Oh, it's hard to see there, but it's just bright white. But yeah, really, really cool band. I'm into the traditional black metal and all, but the melodic black metal, because I really like melodic doom and stuff like that. This stuff really hits a good chord with me. Got the nice kind of echoey screaming vocals. Now this one, their next one came out in 2015, I believe. Moving Monoliths. Probably my favorite cover that these guys put out here. Absolutely killer artwork. It just, this style of artwork kind of reminds me of Bell Witch's Mirror Reaper. Now, that album cover right there is, I'd easily say that is my favorite album cover. So anybody who's into Bell Witch, you'll know exactly what I mean. Fantastic cover. I find this one kind of falls in that same realm. Fantastic cover. What do we got here? So we got some lyrics. Hard to see. A picture of the band. Not sure if this thing... Oh, yeah, it was too. Okay. So this... Nice solid gold color. Really cool. But yes, anybody into the melodic, mid-paced black metal, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And their last one here, which came out in 2018. Ruin. Another kind of cool melancholic type cover. Really neat. This one is a gatefold. And thankfully, the guys were really cool enough to sign this copy for me. So I was extremely happy about that. I'll try and go out of my way if I can to get bands to sign copies. It just makes it more personal for me. I love collecting stuff like that. Now this one is a beautiful vinyl. Whole pile of colors in this one. Really, really nice addition. Very happy to get that. And I'm really hoping that they come out with some more because I will get right on top of it. And moving on, so I don't make this video too bloody long. Okay, so now this one. This would be a band from Toronto, which I came across just by chance on Facebook in a metal vinyl collectors page. And somebody posted a picture of it. I'm not even sure if it was an ad or just somebody posted it. Maybe even somebody in the band, I don't know. And I saw the cover and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I read the description, and then I saw they're from Toronto, Canada. And I thought, really? I never heard of these guys. So I went on to their Bandcamp page, and they've got a couple releases. This would be the third release, I believe. I'll show you here. Quit rambling. Possess Steel. Adris. I believe that's how you'd call it. So they're described as mythical metal. Mythical metal? I don't know. I suppose, like, so it's fantasy and stuff like that. So yeah, you can fall under that category, I guess. I didn't really think it was much an actual category, but so these guys have that kind of traditional metal sound to it, but it's just got that new vibe to it. Instead of like a wall of distorted guitars, they actually, dial it back a little bit so you get the articulation. And fantastic songwriters, absolutely fantastic. And when I found out about them, I went onto their Bandcamp page, and of course, all sold out, of course. So I got in contact with them, and they said, oh, don't worry, we're going to be repressing. And thankfully, I got on top of it, because shortly after that, it actually did get repressed. So I was extremely happy. Now, this is actually really cool. So I guess you would call this like a concept album. And in it is a booklet. Kind of hard to see there. Got kind of a picture of the band here. So in this booklet, it's actually each song kind of runs into one another as a big long story. So you'll get kind of, it's hard to see there, but it's kind of like a map. And you got all the lyrics, but then the story behind it. So for each song, there's a story behind it, and then you've got the lyrics to the song. So it's actually really, really cool. It's something worth kind of reading, and it's just really interesting. Like, they put a lot of work into this. So, I mean, you can get from the kind of mythical, this prologue: a strange wind billows down from the celestial towers through the green sea and into the sheltered moors of the Muskenride. The sullen architects, 3 siblings who created the world, have begun to destroy it slowly, turned insane by the torture inflicted upon the land of the hands of mankind, so on and so forth. So you kind of get an idea of what this is going to be about. Now, the first song, it'll be just kind of a nice little interlude, intro or whatever. And if there was ever going to be a single, I would say the second song, Spellblade, that's going to be their single. And that is a song that that's what I listened to on their Bandcamp page, and I was absolutely hooked. The chorus on this, it gets you right by the luggage and just gives them a tickle. Like, it gets you hooked. I absolutely love the chorus in that song. It's probably one of my favorite choruses. The rest of the album follows suit. It just keeps going on, and just on and on in a good way. Like, absolutely fantastic. Very well written, very good musicians, and extremely well produced. The sound on it is fantastic. Like I said, no noise and wall of guitars, but just dialing back that gain and distortion just to get the articulation sounds absolutely incredible. So from there, I am gonna move to Hamilton, Ontario. And these guys, it's like they're not metal per se, but I guess you can kind of lump them into that category, into the like the sludge metal, noise metal, rock, whatever. But anyways, Shallow, North Dakota. And this one is The Apparatus Must Be Earth. So this one came out in '97. Fantastic band. I got to see these guys play when I was back in high school, and just absolutely blew me away. They were so freaking loud. I'd be coming out of shows from these guys just freaking deaf. My ears were ringing. They kind of had this cool stage presence. So the lead singer was actually the drummer in the band, and absolutely incredible. Just beat the living snot out of the drums and just had this freaking commanding, screaming voice. The guitarist was kind of weird back then. Like, I'd never seen a band kind of perform like this. So you had the bass player and the guitarist, they weren't even looking at the crowd. They were just facing their amps. So it was kind of like a little thing that they had, I guess, going on for a little while. But absolutely fantastic band. I got another here, which this one is a pain in the rear end. I'll pull it out here and hopefully it doesn't fall apart on me. But this is their 2004 album, Mob Wheel. And it's got this kind of folds out, and the record's, it's really cool, but I'm afraid to mark anything up and wreck it. It's an edition of 300. I was also told don't pay attention to the number because they might have been drinking when they were writing numbers, and everybody was just willy-nilly putting a number down. So, but whatever. It's just really cool to have this, and kind of hard to see. I got a couple of the guys to sign it. It's really not very easy to see, but. And I do have. So, their first album that came out in, what would this be? I guess 94. Yeah. So they actually had a demo tape, which was called Pop the Hood, I believe. I had my hands on it way back when I was younger, and it's no longer around, and I can't for the life of me find one. But what came out after that was this album, which by far my favorite album from these guys. This is Auto Body Crusher. So now this one, funny enough, they actually started when they first started, their band was called Shallow, and I have my original copy here. And then after that, changed their name to Shallow, North Dakota. So for the life of me, I've been meaning to ask, because I used to talk to the bass player periodically back and forth, and I meant to ask why, and I never actually found out. So now that I look at this again, I'm going to end up reaching out and try to figure out what happened and why they changed their name. Anyways, if you are to find a copy of either one of these, get your hands on it. It is fan-freaking-tastic. I find on this one, they kind of went a little bit more, like they stayed in the sludge realm and the noise realm, but it was way more catchier. It was almost, some riffs were like, it was like a hardcore kind of getting their foot in the door with like hardcore. So the really cool chunky chugging riffs, a little thrashy. Anyways, I gotta move on here because I'm taking freaking forever. I had so many albums that I wanted to pull out, and I keep going, oh, what about this one? Oh, what about this one? And I want to try to stuff everything, even though I can't, stuff everything into one bloody video. And so whatever, I missed a whole pile, I know, but I grabbed whatever, and I'm just gonna go with it. This one I'm really happy to have. I know it was a limited run. I believe maybe around 100 copies. I can't be certain. I know they were going to repress this, but this band is another BC band. They're called Hoop Snake. So these guys are a heavy sludge type metal. I call it metal too, but sludge. It's definitely sludge. Harsh vocals and just swampy riffs. Really like almost doomy too. But this, what's actually really cool about this one, I know it's hard to see, but it's actually hand silk screened, both sides. So it was kind of neat to get my hands on something like this because, you know, the band had a hand in kind of putting something like this together, and it just makes it, you know, to me, much more collectible. I mean, of course, I love the music, but to have something like this that somebody got their physical hands on, it's like, it means a little bit more to me. And this, one of the next ones was Curse of the White Widow. So this looks like it is silk screen, but it's not. It's just a regular print. See the guys there. Ooh, holding up a flaming upside down cross. So yeah, once again, this album that came out after was sludgy and heavy, but actually I noticed they started kind of getting a little bit of melody into their sound too. Not really getting any far away from their sludge, but just a little bit of extra added touch to the musicality and the musicianship. And last, I got two last ones here. Now, funny enough, this is a split between two bands. One band being an Ontario band, Algoma, and then the other band, which would be another Western Canada band, Chronobot, which, it's hard to see, kind of got like a pop. Yeah, well, no. Maybe? I don't know what the hell that is. Something in the middle there, but it almost looks like a bloody death metal logo. So, I have two copies, and funny enough, each band on their Bandcamp page had copies of their own, and I thought, well, I want to get them signed, and they're two different bands from two different parts of the country, so why not get them both? So, I got them, kind of hard to see there, but I got the band to sign there on the Algoma side. And then, well, of course, the Chronobot guys signed on the Algoma side as well. Whatever. Anyways, so Chronobot is an extremely fuzzed out, sludgy, slow, heavy band. I'd put them under the metal category too, but really, like, when I mean fuzz, I mean fuzz. Really nasty sounding fuzz. Awesome freaking band. Algoma, they are, I guess I describe them as just straight on sludge metal. Really heavy and thick, like massively heavy and thick. Fantastic, both bands fantastic. Of course, Canadian, can't go wrong with Canada. So, man, like I said, I got so many other freaking albums that I pulled out. I made a mess all over the floor trying to pick and choose, and it's just, okay, whatever, go with what I got. I know this video is already like way longer than I was expecting it to be. But anyways, I appreciate everybody, once again, who's still saying some really nice things. It's been fantastic, and I'm meeting some really cool people doing this, and this was kind of the inspiration of doing it, other than watching, you know, some YouTubers do their thing, and I thought, you know, I'd like to do that too, and in doing so, it actually kind of opened up this kind of realm to be able to talk with other people. And especially during all this corona garbage that's going on, you can't go out anywhere, you can't go see anybody, especially where we are. We still got pretty damn good restrictions. So for stuff like this, I get to actually talk with people and, you know, learn about other music. So maybe there's something in here that some of my metal friends may not have considered listening to and just might, you know, check out. You never know. Anyways, like I said, get on to these guys if you can find their albums. Man, oh man. Freaking good. Absolutely amazing. Anyways, thank you very, very much. And next video, I'm gonna just be heading straight into new stuff that I've been getting in. I know I said this last time, but this is what I'm gonna do the next time. Promise. Thank you very much. See ya.